The shadow economy exposed. What they're hiding. What if I told you there's a secret economy, a parallel financial world humming along just beneath the surface of our everyday lives? This isn't some conspiracy theory. It's a global system worth trillions of dollars that you, your neighbors, and even the world's biggest corporations are part of, whether you realize it or not. This is the shadow economy, a world of transactions deliberately hidden from the government, a world of off-the-books deals, cash jobs, and untaxed profits. It's an economy so massive, some estimate it would be the third biggest in the world if it were a country, trailing only the United States and China. But this isn't a victimless enterprise. This hidden world has very real and very serious consequences for your wallet, your community, and the very fabric of our society. So, today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're exposing the shadow economy and what they're hiding. Think about the last time you paid cash for a small job, a haircut, some landscaping, or a babysitter. It seemed harmless, right? A simple, convenient transaction. Now, imagine that small act multiplied by billions of people every single day. From the street vendor on the corner to the complex schemes of major corporations, these hidden transactions create a torrent of money flowing completely outside the system. This isn't just about pocket change. Globally, the shadow economy accounts for a huge portion of all economic activity. It's a complex web of both legal and illegal activities, all united by one common goal: to stay invisible. And its invisibility is what makes it so powerful and so dangerous. The colossal scale of the hidden world. To really get a handle on what we're up against, we need to talk numbers, and the numbers are just staggering. Analysis from 2023 estimated the global shadow economy to be worth around 11.8% of the entire world's gross domestic product. Let that sink in. For every $10 of official economic activity on this planet, more than $1 is generated in the shadows, unrecorded, untaxed, and unregulated. And if you think this is something that only happens in developing nations, you're mistaken. While it's true that in lower-income countries, the shadow economy can make up a massive slice of the economic pie, sometimes 40% or more, it also thrives in the world's most advanced economies. In the United States, a nation with one of the most sophisticated tax systems in the world, the shadow economy is estimated to be worth around $1.4 trillion. That's bigger than the entire official economy of most countries. Germany, Europe's economic powerhouse, has a shadow economy that has been growing, valued well over $300 billion. This isn't a small-time issue. It's a core feature of the global economic landscape. It's a dynamic, ever-present force that includes everything from undeclared income from legal work to vast criminal enterprises like drug trafficking and smuggling. The sheer scale tells us one thing loud and clear. This is not an accident. The shadow economy exists for a reason, driven by powerful incentives that lure people and businesses into its grip. It's a system born from a complex mix of human behavior, economic pressures, and government policy. And understanding who takes part in it is the first step to understanding why it's so widespread and so incredibly hard to stop. It's a world built on quiet handshakes and unwritten deals. A world that secretly shapes the one we see every day. The cast of shadows, from your neighbor to global corporations. So, who are the players in this hidden economic theater? The cast is way more diverse than you might think. It's easy to picture shadowy figures with briefcases of cash, and while that's part of it, the reality is much closer to home. The shadow economy is all around us, and its participants range from the perfectly ordinary to the criminally sophisticated. On the most relatable level, you've got individuals in the informal economy. This is the freelance graphic designer who gets paid in cash for a project and doesn't declare it. It's the plumber or mechanic who offers a discount if you pay in cash, no receipt needed. It's the server who pockets cash tips without reporting the full amount, or the teenager mowing lawns for the summer. Often, these things seem harmless, just a way to make extra money or get a better deal. For many, especially where formal jobs are scarce or pay too little, it's not about greed. It's a lifeline for survival. Then you have small businesses. Think of a restaurant paying kitchen staff under the table to dodge payroll taxes and minimum wage laws. Or a small contractor hiring day laborers with cash, bypassing Social Security and workers' compensation. These businesses often operate in a gray area, partly in the formal economy, partly in the shadows. They might be registered and pay some taxes, but they hide a slice of their business to cut costs and stay afloat against bigger competitors. But the shadow economy isn't just for the little guys. Big corporations get involved too, though their methods are far more advanced. This can involve complex schemes to shift profits to low-tax countries, misrepresenting financial information to shrink tax bills, or engaging in other forms of large-scale tax evasion. While not the same as a cash-in-hand job, these actions have the same goal: to hide economic activity from the authorities to avoid paying what's legally owed. Finally, you have the straight-up illegal side of the shadow economy. This is the world of organized crime. It includes activities that are criminal from the get-go, like the drug trade, human trafficking, and selling stolen goods. These enterprises operate completely outside the law, and their profits are, by definition, part of the shadow economy. This criminal element uses the same channels of secrecy as other participants, but for much darker purposes, fueling violence, corruption, and instability. From top to bottom, from a simple cash payment to a complex international tax scheme, the shadow economy is populated by a huge and varied cast of characters. Each has their own reasons, their own justifications. But together, their actions have profound implications for all of us. The why. What drives a multi-trillion-dollar secret? Why do millions of people and businesses from all walks of life operate in the shadows? It's not just one reason, but a powerful mix of motivations. Understanding these drivers is the key to figuring out why the shadow economy is such a stubborn problem. The reasons really boil down to a few key things: taxes, regulations, a lack of opportunity, and outright crime. The biggest driver, by far, is the desire to avoid taxes and social security contributions. In many countries, the total burden of income tax, sales tax, and other mandatory payments can feel huge. For a low-wage worker, every dollar counts, and taking home their full earnings is a powerful draw. For a business, avoiding payroll taxes can slash labor costs, giving them a competitive edge. This creates what economists call a tax wedge, the gap between what an employer pays for a worker and what that worker actually takes home. The bigger the wedge, the stronger the temptation to just bypass the system. It can become a vicious cycle. High taxes push people into the shadows, which cuts government revenue, which can lead to even higher taxes on everyone else. The second major driver is dodging regulations. Modern businesses face a mountain of rules: minimum wage laws, workplace safety standards, environmental protections, and licensing requirements. While these rules are there to protect people, they also cost time and money. For some, especially small businesses, the complexity and cost of compliance can feel crushing. Working in the shadow economy offers a shortcut, a way to skip the paperwork, the inspections, and the costs of playing by the rules. In many parts of the world, especially in developing economies, the shadow economy isn't really a choice, it's a necessity. A lack of formal job opportunities is a massive driver of this informal work. When the official economy can't create enough jobs, people are forced to make their own living. They become street vendors, artisans, or offer informal services because there are no other options. In these places, the shadow economy acts as a crucial safety net, providing a way to survive for those left out of the formal job market. And finally, there's the simple fact that some activities are just illegal. Drug trafficking, selling counterfeit goods, illegal gambling, these things can only exist in the shadows because they're forbidden by law. The profits are enormous, and those involved go to extreme lengths to hide their transactions from law enforcement. This criminal slice of the shadow economy is often tied to other serious problems like money laundering, corruption, and violence, posing a direct threat to public safety. The ripple effect: how it secretly impacts your wallet and your world. The shadow economy might seem like a distant, abstract idea, but its effects are incredibly personal. They show up in the quality of your roads, the funding for local schools, the stability of your job, and even in how fair the market is. This hidden world isn't a victimless crime. We are all paying the price, often without even realizing it. The most direct impact is on public services. Governments fund everything, from healthcare and education to roads and emergency services through taxes. Every dollar of income that goes unreported, every sale that happens off the books, is a dollar that isn't helping to pay for these essential services. This creates a massive hole in public budgets known as the tax gap. In the US alone, the net tax gap for tax year 2022 was estimated at a staggering $606 billion. This shortfall means less money for fixing bridges, equipping hospitals, and hiring teachers. That pothole you hit on your morning commute, or the overcrowded classroom your child is in, can often be traced, in part, to revenue lost to the shadow economy. Beyond that, the shadow economy creates a deeply unfair playing field for businesses. Legitimate companies, the ones that follow the rules, pay their taxes, and give their employees benefits, are put at a huge disadvantage. Imagine you own a small, registered construction company. You pay payroll taxes, have workers' comp, and report all your income. Your competitor, operating in the shadows, does none of this. They can easily undercut your prices because their costs are so much lower. This makes it incredibly tough for honest businesses to compete, leading to lost jobs and sometimes even business failure. This leads to another critical impact: the exploitation of workers. While some people might choose to work for cash, many have no other option. Workers in the shadow economy are in a very precarious position, stripped of legal protections. They aren't covered by minimum wage laws. They have no access to workplace safety standards, making them vulnerable to injury. If they're fired unfairly, they have no legal recourse. They don't build up social security for retirement or disability, and they don't get paid sick leave or unemployment benefits. This creates a hidden workforce that is ripe for exploitation, trapping people in a cycle of low-wage, insecure work. Finally, the shadow economy messes up our understanding of the economy itself. Key economic numbers like GDP, employment rates, and inflation are all based on official data. When a huge chunk of economic activity is hidden, these numbers become inaccurate. This can lead to bad policy decisions. A government might think unemployment is higher than it really is, or that the economy is weaker, and make choices based on that faulty information. It's like trying to navigate a ship with an inaccurate map. You probably won't end up where you want to go. The bigger picture: national and global consequences. When you zoom out from our daily lives, the shadow economy casts a long and dark shadow over entire nations and the global system. Its massive scale doesn't just strain budgets, it eats away at the very foundations of trust, good governance, and security that a stable society needs. One of the most damaging consequences is how it undermines trust in public institutions. When so many people are operating outside the rules, it signals that the social contract is breaking down. It creates a culture where not complying is normal, and it can lead people to believe that the system is rigged or that only suckers play by the rules. Why should you pay your fair share when you see others getting away with paying nothing? This erosion of tax morale can become a self-fulfilling prophecy. A large shadow economy suggests the government is weak and ineffective, which makes citizens even less willing to trust and cooperate with it. On a wider economic level, the shadow economy is a drag on productivity and long-term growth. Businesses that operate informally usually stay small to avoid being noticed. They can't get formal loans, so they can't invest in new technology, better equipment, or training for their employees. They're cut off from the legal system, so they can't enforce contracts in court. This creates a situation where a large part of the economy is stuck in a low productivity state, which holds back the entire nation's economic potential. What's more, the shadow economy creates serious security risks. The same untraceable, anonymous financial channels used for tax evasion are also the lifeblood of organized crime. These channels are perfect for money laundering, the process of making dirty money from criminal activities look clean. The profits from drug trafficking and other illegal enterprises get washed through the shadow economy, mixing them into the legitimate financial system. This not only strengthens criminal groups, but can also be used to fund terrorism, posing a direct threat to national and global security. And in today's interconnected world, these problems don't just stay inside one country's borders. Illicit financial flows and cross-border tax evasion are a huge part of the global shadow economy. This requires countries to work together, because one country's weak enforcement can be exploited by criminals from another. The fight against the shadow economy is now a major focus for international groups who see it for what it is: a global problem that requires a global solution. Pulling back the curtain, how can they possibly know? At this point, you have to be wondering, if this economy is so hidden, how do we even have these statistics? How can anyone measure something that doesn't want to be measured? It's a huge challenge, and there's no single perfect method. Instead, economists and researchers act like detectives, piecing together clues from different places to build a picture of this hidden world. One of the most common methods is the currency demand approach. The basic idea is that most shadow economy deals happen in cash to avoid leaving a digital trail. Researchers look at the total amount of cash in circulation, especially big bills, and compare it to what should be needed for legitimate, reported business. The extra cash floating around is then used as an estimate for the size of the shadow economy. It's an indirect clue, but a powerful one. Another way is to look for gaps in the national accounts. For example, economists can compare the total income that people and businesses report to the total amount of money being spent in the economy. In theory, these two numbers should be pretty close. One person's spending is another's income. If spending is way higher than reported income, it suggests that a lot of undeclared money is being spent, pointing to a big shadow economy. Surveys and audits are also key tools. Researchers conduct anonymous surveys asking people directly about their work in the informal economy. Anonymity is key to getting honest answers. Similarly, tax authorities use random audits to uncover undeclared income. By taking the results from a sample of audits, they can estimate the total tax gap, the difference between taxes owed and taxes paid. The IRS, for instance, uses detailed audit data to calculate its tax gap estimates. Finally, researchers use sophisticated statistical models that combine several different clues. These models look at things that are thought to cause the shadow economy, like high tax rates and heavy regulation, and things that are thought to be indicators of it, like cash in circulation. By analyzing how all these factors relate to each other, the model can produce an estimate of the shadow economy's size. It's important to remember that all of these methods give us estimates, not exact figures. We'll likely never know the true size of the shadow economy with perfect accuracy. But by combining these different detective-like methods, economists can create a reasonably reliable picture, and those estimates are vital. They help policymakers understand just how big the problem is and design smarter ways to tackle it. The fight back. Can the shadows be cleared? So, given the huge scale and deep roots of the shadow economy, is there any hope of fixing it? Wiping it out completely is probably impossible. But that doesn't mean governments are powerless. They're using a whole toolbox of strategies, not to eliminate the shadows, but to shrink them and encourage more activity to move into the formal economy. The fight back is on, and it's getting smarter. A core strategy is simply improving tax enforcement while also making it easier to pay taxes. This isn't just about more audits and bigger penalties. It's also about simplifying tax codes and creating user-friendly digital systems for filing. At the same time, governments are using technology like data analytics and AI to get better at spotting tax evasion. By cross-referencing bank records, credit card data, and online platform information, they can more easily find inconsistencies, which makes getting caught a much bigger risk. Another key approach is to lower the temptation to go underground in the first place. This often means reforming regulations and simplifying taxes. If the tax burden is seen as fair and the rules are easy to follow, more people will comply. Some governments are trying out lower tax rates for small businesses or creating simplified tax systems for the self-employed. The goal is to create a positive cycle. Simpler, fairer taxes lead to more people paying them, which broadens the tax base and allows the government to collect the revenue it needs. Formalization programs are also a big part of the solution, especially in developing economies. These programs try to make it easier and more beneficial for informal businesses to become official. This might mean cutting registration fees, streamlining paperwork, or offering benefits like business training and access to loans for newly registered companies. The idea is to change the calculation, making the benefits of being official, like legal protection and the ability to grow, outweigh the costs. Finally, international cooperation is absolutely essential. In a globalized world, tax evasion easily crosses borders. Countries are now increasingly sharing financial information to track down offshore assets and stop multinational corporations from hiding profits in tax havens. This collective effort makes it much harder for anyone to find a safe place to hide their money. The fight against the shadow economy is a long-term battle. It requires a delicate balance of smart enforcement and smart incentives. The most effective strategies are comprehensive and tailored to each country's unique situation. The goal isn't just to punish, but to persuade, to make the formal economy a more attractive and fair place for everyone. Conclusion. We've journeyed deep into the hidden world of the shadow economy. We've seen its shocking scale, met its diverse players, and understood the powerful forces that drive it. We've traced its invisible impact on our public services, our local businesses, and the very stability of our society. This isn't some distant, abstract idea. It's a parallel financial universe that quietly and profoundly shapes the world we all live in. The key takeaway is this: the shadow economy is not a victimless enterprise. It creates a system of deeply embedded unfairness. It penalizes honest people and businesses who play by the rules while rewarding those who don't. It starves our communities of the resources they need to thrive, leaving schools underfunded and infrastructure to crumble. It leaves millions of workers vulnerable to exploitation, without the basic rights and protections they deserve. And it gives criminal enterprises the perfect cover to launder their profits and threaten our collective security. But understanding this hidden world is the first step toward fixing it. It's a complex problem with no easy answers, requiring a smart response that balances better enforcement with better policies. It demands we recognize that for many, the shadow economy is born of desperation, not just greed. By pulling back the curtain, we're no longer in the dark. We can see the hidden costs and understand the true price of every off-the-books transaction. We're now empowered with the knowledge of how this secret world works and how it impacts every single one of us. The shadows may be vast, but they aren't impenetrable, and shining a light on them is the most crucial step in building a fairer and more transparent economy for everyone. This conversation is too important to keep in the shadows. If you found this eye-opening, please hit the like button and subscribe for more deep dives into the hidden systems that shape our world. Most importantly, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on the shadow economy? Have you seen its effects in your own community? Share your experiences and perspectives in the comments below. Let's continue this crucial discussion. Thanks for watching.